Well, we woke up this morning with a brilliant idea. We'll head on down to the Welcome to Fabulous Las Vegas sign. We'll be down there all by ourselves, and we'll get an awesome introduction to our next Random Land on location. And as you can see here, our brilliant plan was pretty brilliant. We got the sign, we got the introduction, we got you, you're on board, we're here on Las Vegas Boulevard. But would you look at the size of that crowd? Look at the size of that line. And that's because Las Vegas is a very popular place, known, of course, internationally for its shows, for its adult entertainment, for the slot machines, for the roulette, the gambling, the casinos, the luxury. And it's also known to those in the know for its Muppets. Muppets, you say? Oh, that's right. We're not here to gamble. We're not here to check out Elvis, which, by the way, there is a fake Elvis over there in the parking lot, but he wants a tip to point the camera at him. And here's a pro tip. Just don't do it. Then you won't have to give him a tip. No, we're here for the Muppets, my friends. We're here for the felt. We're here for the rubber. Maybe other types of cloth. I don't know, but I'm excited to find out. Let's do this. You guys, we are about to enter the Muppet Room. And prepare to have your minds blown, because what we are about to see is the largest private collection of Muppet replicas in the world, especially in a private home. And this is a private home, the private home of our friend Andy, who's coming out right now to tell us about the Muppet Room. Andy, how are you?
Good,
thank you for letting us in your house, first of all.
My pleasure, completely.
And why don't you tell our friends what your name is and what you do?
So yeah, my name's Andy Walmsley, and I'm actually a professional set designer. So I design shows, theatre shows, TV shows, but the scenery, the background, which is very pertinent to what we're about to see. So do we just go for it and go
We've got to just go in.
Okay,
prepare
ready?
To enter.
Here we go.
The Muppet Room. Look at this. Look at first of all, look at all the Muppets. And then, of course, as you may have just seen, behind all the Muppets, you have recreated the backstage of the Muppet Show, maybe the greatest show in television history if you're a Muppet fan, which I am. Although I must say right from the start, I now don't think I might not be the biggest fan in the world.
This fan's bigger than me, believe it or not.
Somebody has trumped me. But look at this, Andy. This is crazy. This is insane. This is mind-blowing. But we can't look at this yet. Okay. I have to know, how did this happen? Why did this happen?
How did it start? It's quite a story, actually. So I grew up in England. The accent maybe gave that away. And my parents were very showbiz family performers. So my dad was a quite famous comedian, and my mum was a fire eater, like literally a fire eater. So I grew up in this wacky house where there was always entertainers coming to visit. They'd pop over for coffee or for a party or whatever. Right. So one day there'd be a juggler there, and I'd be saying, "Oh, teach me." I was a little kid. Teach me how to juggle, and I'd kind of learn.
Did you ever learn how to fire eat?
Funnily enough, that's the one thing I didn't want to do. Okay, so no, I didn't.
But juggling.
But yeah, ventriloquists, musicians. But like kids go for these fads. So
right, you go through phases.
About every 2 weeks, I want to be a hypnotist, a stage hit. I was really into that for quite a while. All these different things. And then eventually they became friends with a guy who had a marionette puppet act, and that was it. I'm a little kid, puppets. This is what I want to do. But then, maybe a year or two after that, 1976, the Muppet Show came on the TV. Oh. I'm pretty old. And I'm watching this, and I'm like, oh, hold on a minute. The marionettes are fun, but this is what I want to do. I want to work for Jim Henson and be I always call them Muppeteers. Right. I learned recently that's apparently not a good term.
Is that not it? I always thought they were Muppeteers.
They don't like being called Muppeteers.
That was my dream too. Puppeteer.
So anyway, I'm like, okay, how can I do this? I was a little older by then, maybe, I don't know, 10, 11, something like that. So I bought a Fisher-Price Kermit the Frog that I don't think they sell anymore, but they used to, like a plush toy. And I cut the bottom open, pulled all the stuffing out, put an old coat hanger as the arm rods, and I'd be in front of my mum's bedroom mirror for hours and hours with this thing. And then I begged my mum to make me a Miss Piggy, like the one nobody's seen yet, but we're going to see it in a minute.
Don't look that way yet.
And God bless her, she tried, she started making it, but she just couldn't do it.
It's hard. I've tried to make my own puppets, and it is not.
And it was like a major life lesson, actually, because she spent nearly a year trying and then gave up. And it really taught me, and this is no disrespect to my mum, but it taught me don't give up. She should have kept going, really. Right. So I really appreciated that she tried, but it was like a life lesson as well. Anyway, so I'm doing that for years, and I start now really obsessing over the puppeteers. Not so much the show. I love the show.
But the actual
But
performance.
it's like, how are they doing that? Because
Yeah.
I knew how to do the marionette stuff. And a lot of people don't know this, but the Muppet Show is actually filmed in England, in
Right.
London. I didn't live in London, but I lived in England, obviously. So we got a lot more access than Americans did with press. This is, long before
sure.
the
Yeah,
internet.
yeah.
So the press were allowed to go and do the occasional article behind the scenes, and it would be in our local, not local, but our UK papers.
Yeah, yeah.
So all that stuff went on my bedroom wall. So my pin-ups were the puppeteers. Like, Dave Goles, I'm trying to remember them all off the top of my
Richard
head now.
Hunt.
Yeah, all those classic
Frank Oz.
original, and of course Jim. So most normal kids would have sports stars or pin-ups
Yeah.
or pop stars.
Arsenal or something
Yes,
on the wall.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty fun. But for me, it was all the Muppeteers were my heroes, which is again a little weird. But this whole video is going to be a little weird.
Well, what's funny about that is I always obsessed over the Muppets as a kid.
Yeah, which
the,
I didn't
the
know until
Muppet
you told
movie
me
was my
earlier,
favorite
which
thing.
is
There's never
amazing.
been a chance to really talk about that. I've never had the opportunity to share that
Yeah.
with the audience, but I carried a Kermit the Frog puppet around with me my whole life.
Right.
So when we walked up here earlier and you were talking about being a big fan of the Muppets and all that stuff, I was like, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah.
You're talking to the right guy.
And he did before we started filming. He did.
Yeah, my
So-
mind is blown. So if I'm a little inarticulate, it's because I'm overwhelmed and
Yeah,
overstimulated.
this wall particularly.
Yeah, I can't look that way. So you got to show us. This
So yeah,
first.
so I wrote to Jim. Bear in mind, he lived in London because the show was being shot there. So I wrote on my mum's typewriter. Actually, no email yet.
Right,
obviously.
right.
And then a couple of weeks later, this just came through the mail. So to Andrew, best wishes, Jim Henson and Kermit the Frog, which obviously I cherish. That was on my bedroom wall. It wasn't in this frame at the time.
Can I just say that
Yeah.
just that alone, had I showed up here and you had a plain Jane house and just showed me, look what I have,
Yeah.
would blow
Yeah,
my
exactly.
mind. That is like my ultimate hero: Walt Disney,
Right.
Jim Henson, George Lucas.
Yeah, imagine if Walt Disney sent you through the mail a photograph signed.
I can't even
to-
imagine
yeah,
how
exactly,
excited. How
yeah.
old were you when that happened?
God, probably 10, 11, that kind of age by then.
That is so cool.
Which is probably a little too old to be, playing with puppets.
I don't think so.
So anyway, then about a year later, my mum, the fire eater, was in a show, and Jim came to see the show with Dave Goles, actually. And
Who did Gonzo? We should probably
Yeah,
say, and
gosh.
so many other
a lot of the very
Muppets.
famous-
Yeah.
He's the only one really still doing it to this day. So I wasn't there, sadly, that day, but my mum, in the intermission, she ran out, found them with this piece of paper here. And even though kind of greedy, because I already had an autograph, but said, could you sign this? But what is amazing to me about this little scrap of paper is this. My mum passed away quite a long time ago, and obviously we know Jim did as well. So this piece of paper has my mum and Jim Henson's DNA on it, which is, I think, is kind of cool.
I think that is the coolest story, coolest relic.
Yeah.
That is so amazing. Well, clearly your mom obviously must have loved you a lot.
Yeah, and she's very supportive of this obsession,
Yeah.
obviously. So down here is
We've
a
got to
little
see this.
picture.
Look at this, Tyler.
This
By the
was
way, we
my-
have Tyler behind the camera. How you doing, Tyler?
I'm doing well,
Okay,
thanks.
Tyler's doing well.
Tyler's mind's blown as well. So, yeah, this was my collection of puppets when I was a little kid. I mean,
These
they're
are
all-
the homemade. It's like a homemade scooter right here.
Well, no, that actually you could buy those. That was Fisher Price as well. I
Really?
think. And some of these only your British viewers would recognise because this is Orville the Duck, very
Okay.
famous in England. Sooty and Sweep and Sue, very very famous hand puppets, glove puppets
Yeah.
in England. But yeah, I was very proud of this.
Oh, is that your
collection.
original Kermit right there? The one
Yeah,
that you,
that's the one I
unstuffed?
Turned, yeah, I unstuffed him.
That's incredible.
So anyway, as time, I grew up a little bit, and I wouldn't say I grew out them. Clearly, I didn't grow out the Muppets, but I didn't want to be a puppeteer anymore.
Right.
I sort of developed then this love for set design. I actually had a puppet theatre where I would build my own scenery, and that's kind
is
of
that what started it?
Really, yeah. But that was my marionette puppet theatre, but I would make my own scenery. So now I'm very focused on being a set designer. I still love the Muppets, but I don't want to do that anymore.
Right,
I want to be
right.
a set designer. So I go to college and do all of that. And the very last day of college, which this always blows my mind, the last day of college, I go for a job interview. I have to put a suit on. I think I was 17, 18 or something. Never been to a job interview in my life. I'd had summer jobs like we all
Sure,
did,
sure.
but this is like real now. And amazingly,
And you were in college for set design, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you were learning the trade.
how to do it for 3 years, and the whole goal obviously is to get a job in
Hopefully
television.
one day,
one
fingers
day,
crossed.
maybe a few months after. No, the day I came out of college. So I'm in this interview, and they told me it was to assist a designer. So I was going to be the assistant designer on a TV show for 4 months. So, I was very nervous and blah, blah, blah. And then eventually they said, okay, you've got the job. And they actually sent me out and then brought me back in like an hour later. And they said, we're going to give you the job. So first of all, I got a job like
Yeah.
the day I left college. But secondly, as I'm leaving, and now that would have been my first question when I walked in, would have been, oh, what is the show I'll be working on?
Sure.
But I was young
and nervous,
So I said, oh, what is the show I'll be working on? Oh, a new Jim Henson project. So, I mean, this is destiny. If you ever believe in fate and destiny.
Kismet, destiny,
insane.
fate.
And Jim was still alive then. So, I don't know, a month later I started the job.
And what was the show?
It was called The Ghost of Fafnir Hall, which unfortunately was not one of the big hits.
Right, not a big hit, yeah.
But it's all there on YouTube. You can find it.
Well, I mean, most people don't even know about the storyteller or any of those things either. There's still some obscure...
very prolific in that time. And of course, they're not all going to be hits, unfortunately. So anyway...
we need it all on Blu-ray. That's the problem. Between Disney and the Henson Company, we need every Jim Henson thing on Blu-ray somehow.
Everything they've ever done.
One
that would be quite
collaboration box set.
So anyway, I'm working there now with Jim. I mean, I'm not dealing directly with Jim, but he's in the room and I've met him. And
met Jim Henson.
It's crazy, yeah.
So when I shook your hand, I shook the hand that shook Jim Henson's hand.
Anyway, and
I'm
also...
never washing this hand again.
Richard...
Sorry.
Carry on. Richard Hunt was one of the puppeteers who unfortunately passed away a long time ago. Richard was amazing.
Yeah.
He did Scooter and Janice and a lot of the original Muppets, and very over-the-top fun personality. So he was great on the set. And then there was Louise Gold, Mike Quinn, Karen Prell. A lot of these people that were on my bedroom wall, I'm now working with. So I didn't tell them about any of this because I didn't want them to think I was a freak.
Plus you're the new guy.
Yeah,
you don't want to be like, I'm obsessed with you. I've been wondering what you smelled like for years.
I think I would have been thrown out instantly.
Right.
So anyway, that was like about 4 months. The very last day of that shoot, they said, "Oh, we need to do one of those sort of classic Muppet shots with lots of Muppets.
Right.
We need anyone want to help?
Big crowd scene.
They're asking the cameramen and the electricians and nobody. But of course, I'll help." So Richard Hunt took me in a corner of the studio and gave me this red bird puppet that I'd seen on the Muppet Show. The Ghost of Fafnir Hall was a weird mixture of Muppets from the Muppet Show and new latex sculpted puppets.
Right.
It was a really weird, probably why...
More the 80s creature shop type of stuff.
But with chickens and cows from Sesame Street and the Muppet Show. Very weird. Yeah, why not? So anyway, he takes me in a corner, gives me the red bird, and he gives me a class, like a master class, for 1 minute in how to puppeteer. What he didn't know is that I've been doing it for years.
My gosh, yeah.
And I'll never forget as long as I live. He said, "Wow, you're a natural."
Right, you're a fast learner.
Yeah, you're amazing. You'll be fine at this. So anyway, I go and do the shot, and then I have this photograph here, which is one of my favourite photographs.
Oh my gosh,
I
come
own. And this is me here with the red bird. And then this here is Richard walking around the back with I don't know what that is, a giant parrot.
I recognize that bird, and I recognize the penguin.
Yeah, penguin, this lizard. This is Louise Gold, this is Mike Quinn. Karen Prell is somewhere behind there, I think. And Jim is like off shot, unfortunately. Wouldn't it be great if he was in the shot? He's standing in front of the cameras. And it was 30 minutes of my life, but what a 30 minutes, because this was my dream. It wasn't currently my dream, but it had been my dream to work.
You were like living out your childhood dream
literally.
at your first job.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Oh my! I'm surprised you weren't like, "Nuts to set design. I'm finally doing it. I'm a Muppeteer."
Well, it's silly, isn't it? Like if I look back now, if I'd have really said to them, "Look, I want to do this," they probably maybe would have taken me under their wing in those days. Now there's lines of people want to do it, but in those days there wasn't that many people wanting to do it. But anyway, what I find a bit nerdy, well, very nerdy, is this shirt I'm wearing here is actually this shirt on the shelf here.
Oh, no.
Which is like, I'd always kept it, and I remember Richard was, a lot of the pictures of Richard Hunt, he's wearing striped shirts.
I feel like I've met a new kindred spirit today, exactly. Andy, because this is exactly what I would do. If I had gotten to meet Jim Henson, I'd probably
keep the shirt. Keep
that shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
That's incredible.
So anyway, a few years go by, and I, as you do in a career, I was an assistant designer here, but I climbed the ladder slowly and became a designer in my own right.
Right.
And then if we move to this side, this guy here...
Oh, yeah. This will be hard to get in. Come on over here,
it's a small picture. But this is Richard Holloway, and he was the stage manager on the original Muppet Show.
Oh, my gosh.
And he was very instrumental in the success of that show, because he was, you can see...
He's right down there with Kermit.
Constantly on all the shots. And he's got the headphones on there to the gallery or the control room where the director's saying, tell Jim to move slightly to the left. So he really was really one of the Muppeteers without the
an important part of the whole production.
So as my career was slowly sort of climbing, so was his. And he stopped being a floor manager, stage manager, became a producer rather, and then eventually became an executive producer. So I then started working for him. And when I did work for him, I came clean. I said, tell me stories about the Muppet Show. So he would whenever I saw him on different shows, I'd grab him. Oh, do you want to go for a coffee? And he'd give me the amazing stories.
Oh my gosh.
So eventually, more towards the end of my career in England, because obviously I now live in the States, or maybe not. Obviously, you could be in London.
That's true.
We're in Las Vegas here in the States. I do a show for him called Pop Idol, which eventually came here and became American Idol.
Right.
But it was a big success in England first as Pop Idol. And at the end of that shoot, he said, you've done a great job and I just want to give you a little thank you gift. And he walks in with this. It wasn't in this box. It was in a pillowcase.
Gosh.
And this is an original background, not one of the famous characters, obviously, otherwise we'd know who he is, but one of the background characters from the Muppet Show. And quite crudely made, so I suspect it was a quick, we need a cat for a sketch we're doing in 2 days.
And one you can adapt to different characters as needed.
Right, as well, yeah. You can see not very well made, but certainly, obviously, there was no high definition in those days, so on camera in those days, this would have looked fine.
Yeah, which we'll get to when we see some of the other Muppets. Is like I'm seeing some of them in person for the first time in here and going,
right.
I didn't know that's what that was made out of. Because when they're alive, it's a total night and day difference between it sitting here and
some of
it
them
moving.
Are pretty crudely made, but some of them are very sophisticated. But anyway, inside him there's a label that says HIT, which is Henson International Television, and it's signed "Made with Love" by Kathy. Well, I don't know of any builders that were in the London workshop called Kathy, but there was a puppeteer called Kathy Mullen who's still around. So I don't know. This is just...
That's interesting.
I'm guessing that maybe Kathy wasn't needed that day on set, and she's kind of bored, and she goes in the workshop, hey, do you need any help? I could be completely wrong, but I don't know of any Kathy builders.
I know a lot of the puppeteers were people who, like Kevin Clash and all these people had built their own puppets.
Well. Even Dave Gold started in the workshop, and
so
they coaxed him into
That's
performing.
totally possible. This has to be Muppets 3D, right? From Disney World. I love that. There's so much to see.
We all have stolen some of these 3D glasses. We're not supposed to, but apologies, Disney, but... We'll do it. We want a little memento like that.
I have not ever done that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, of course you have. No, not at all.
But
so, just to kind of wrap up this story of my journey, I guess, is then Pop Idol was such a success thanks to Richard Holloway. I then moved to America with Simon Cowell and Nigel Lithgow and a bunch of other people to do American Idol here. So I didn't really need an office. I had rented a little apartment. I could have worked out of there. But I was like, I want to get an office. So small, the size of this room. So I rented an office at the Henson Studios in Hollywood. Just because, how cool is that? I'm living and working in Hollywood, and I'm in...
And it's the old Charlie Chaplin Studios.
As well,
It's on Melrose and La Brea.
La Brea, exactly,
oh my gosh.
So I got to know Brian Henson there, because it's a very small
So you're just renting an office?
Yeah.
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
But it's so small, you'd go over to use the Xerox machine, and Brian would be there, or so it's very easy to get to know people. So I started doing little jobs for them. They'd need a prop for something, for an appearance, or... just little things, and then eventually I did a pilot.
Yeah, you're there. Oh, you just conveniently conveniently happen to have a set designer here.
Yeah,
I see what you did there, Andy.
Yeah, sneaky. And then, so anyway, the long end of that story is basically I did design the Hollywood Bowl shows. This poster here is from.
Oh my god.
Which was about I always forget the date, but 5 or 6 years ago now. And it was a hell of an experience for me because, again, I'm working with them all, but I'm on the stage of the Hollywood Bowl. There's an 80-piece orchestra, LA Philharmonic Orchestra. I believe
did the sets.
And I designed all the sets. And what was great about designing those sets is they wanted me to reproduce, which really brings us full circle to this room, but reproduce the classic sets. So the Pigs in Space spaceship,
right.
The chef's kitchen. So, I mean, they couldn't have found a better person. I know that sounds a little arrogant, but, I know to the tiniest
considering,
detail. Yeah, so I completely reproduced all of that. And that was an amazing experience.
Did you get to do this, the backstage set?
No, I did in my first version. I probably did 4 or 5 revisions. Initially, all the puppeteers were going to be hidden, which, to be honest, is how I wanted it to be as a fan.
Right. You just want to see the Muppets.
Yeah, but in the end, they wanted them exposed, the puppeteers exposed. So a lot of stuff was thrown out and redesigned and thrown out and redesigned. It's quite a hard job. But they wanted me to be in the... I didn't tell you this actually earlier, but they wanted me to be in the rehearsal room when they were creating the show. This was about 3 months before the show.
Oh, wow.
They had a week in a rehearsal room with all the puppets. Very few people, probably 10 puppeteers, a couple of producers and me. And the reason for that was they could say, oh, Andy, we need a desk for this. And I'd grab my tape measure. So they said, would you mind being there for a week? Normally, I'd be like, oh, I don't want
to be on, the rehearsals.
Yeah, it's so kind of boring. But obviously, I was like, I'll be there. Yeah. And it was honestly it was actually better, more fun than being at the Hollywood Bowl because it was very intimate. And I mean, I'm like watching
them. You're watching them perform.
And a lot of the classic sketches from the Muppet Show was what they were doing.
So who was performing? What Steve Whitmire would have been Kermit?
No, so this was the very first job that Matt Vogel did. Matt Vogel is currently
that's right.
Kermit,
He's the new Kermit.
And I have this book here, actually. This is every true Muppet fan has this book.
Except me.
I don't know if it's still
I never got a chance to get one. I had one of the ones that's up here on the shelf behind you, actually. I was going to say. Oh, yeah. Jim Henson, The Works.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
This No Strings Attached book. And there was these were some of the books that were like the Bible to me
as
a kid.
I was thinking this is the holy Bible to me because it's all about behind the scenes. So I've had this a long time and therefore
I almost stole it from my school library, but
I don't believe anyone has this book with this amount of signatures. So I mean, they go all the way through, and they're all personalised.
Who's in there?
In fact, that's Richard. Yeah. So that day that I performed the puppet for Richard, he says here, "Look, Andrew, what a natural." He doesn't know.
That's incredible.
He doesn't know that I'd been doing it for. Keep it up. Which I guess
so. You had this book since childhood.
A long time.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, the reason I bring it out to show you, apart from
there was Beauregard. I saw him.
Oh no! Look at that. We did that earlier. That's not good. But anyway, this is Matt Vogel. So the very first day of that rehearsal for the Hollywood Bowl show, I bring the book out. Not super professional, but I wanted to get the extra autographs that I didn't have yet.
Oh my gosh!
And I say to Matt, "Would you sign this as Kermit?"
On there.
And this was Matt's first day ever professionally operating Kermit, even though it was a rehearsal. So I say to him, will you sign this for me? Of course. Oh, no problem. I'd love to. And he starts writing this part, and then he stops. He says, I've actually never done. This is the first time I've ever signed Kermit's name, and this signature is exactly the same as the way Jim did it. So he'd obviously been studying. But this is the first time Matt ever signed Kermit, which to most people, who cares? But, to a Muppet fan, that's kind of cool.
I mean, that is incredible. So just to recap here, we're going from a kid growing up in a showbiz family, I'm interested in performing art to some degree, to the Muppets blow up your world. You're obsessing over the puppeteers, the Muppets. You're kind of trying to make your own Muppets. And then now fast forward, you are actually designing the sets for a Muppet Show.
Exactly.
I mean, this is incredible. Yeah. That's an incredible story all by itself.
I mean, not the first day, but one of the rehearsal days at the bowl. So there's no audience. It's broad, the sun is beating down on us. And we're all on stage, and the orchestra arrive for the first time, and, they're all setting up, and we're all just talking. And then eventually the guy pat the baton, and then everyone went quiet. We're like, "Ooh, something's about to happen." And they started with the Muppet Show theme, and I'm there with all, Dave Goles, Peter Linz, all of them, Matt Vogel. We're all standing there, and that was like really amazing, just to be on stage at the bowl with my heroes. And an 80-piece orchestra is playing the Muppet Show theme. So
I mean, I think it's amazing that you get your first job here. You get to meet Jim Henson. You get to meet a lot of these guys, and that isn't the end. That you somehow end up at the Jim Henson Studios. You end up doing this. I mean, this is incredible. Okay, Andy, you've worked in TV for a long time. What are some of the big shows you've worked on? We might as well throw them out there.
I've been very, very lucky. I've done lots of shows that aren't big hits, but I've also done a few that are. So I'm probably most famous for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, the quiz show.
Really?
Which is actually the most duplicated scenic design in the world. There's 108 copies of that set in all.
And you designed that set?
All identical in all of them. And then I did American Idol, which is kind of a big show.
Kind of a big deal.
America's Got Talent and lots of other smaller shows, So You Think You Can Dance, and lots of things. And a lot of theatre as well. Wow. So I've had a wide range.
What's your favorite thing that you've ever done, though? Probably the Muppet Room?
Actually, a flop show called Ice Warriors, which was in the UK only. It was a flop.
Ice Warriors.
Nobody watched it, but it was an enormous set. Very, very creative set.
Wow.
So yeah, Ice Warriors, Google it.
That's incredible. And your whole house, by the way, looks like a set.
Like a set, yeah.
It's incredible.
Exactly.
It's incredible.
I'm the guy who goes to a restaurant or somewhere, and if there's a painting that's like not quite straight, I have to get up. And it's a disease being a set designer.
This is amazing. Well, if I ever pick up a little more steam and we build a Random Land set, I'm calling you.
And when we talk about what I'm going to do with this room in the future, because we didn't really explain, and this is for real. Today is the last day of this room.
That's right, and that's why we're here.
So literally tomorrow, I'm going to be taking most of this out and remodeling. And I don't know if you want to talk about that now or later. But talk
Well, we'll
about
reveal the reason why later.
in a little bit.
Because
Okay.
at first I was like, the first thing I said to you earlier was like, once I saw this, how could you? It's heartbreaking. And you're like, well, here's what I'm going to be doing, and it's interesting.
With what I'm going to do, which we'll explain later, then, that again,
It's
like,
taking
it's
the
a
dream
real full circle.
One
Real
more
full
step.
circle.
So we'll
Yeah.
reveal
Yeah.
that at the end, maybe. But
Should we show them?
yeah, now we've got to turn around. Tyler, turn around this way, and you've got to see this recreation of what was it always called in the show? The backstage of the Muppets.
Yeah, I call
the
it
Muppet
back.
Theater.
In fact, Tyler, if you show the monitor there, you'll see, just to jog people's memories, or many people have probably never even seen this.
Yeah, a lot of people now haven't seen the Muppet Show. It was hard to see when I was growing up.
Right.
It wasn't on TV anymore, and then of course they started releasing DVDs and then stopped. They never even released all the seasons.
Really,
Luckily,
right.
we have YouTube
Yes,
and stuff
they're
now,
all on
so
there
there's
now.
ways to find it. I'm not sure if it ended up on Disney Plus yet. The Muppet Show. I haven't ever checked. I haven't ever checked.
Yes, they
It must be
they
on
are.
there now.
But there's a few episodes they won't put on there because the world has changed so much.
Right.
And some of it's not very
It's
politically
not
correct.
very politically correct.
Yeah.
And people think of, I think a lot of kids now, because they've been softened, and Disney purchasing the Muppets changed them a lot.
Yes.
They think of the Muppets the way they think of the Sesame Street characters. They think of them as being these sort of
Educational.
soft and cuddly.
Yeah.
And when the Muppets started, wasn't the original show, when he was going to do it for Saturday Night
Sex
Live,
and
it was called
Violence.
Sex and Violence, like the Muppets Sex and Violence or whatever.
yeah.
I mean, it was really crazy madcap.
And that was because the Sesame Street was already so successful, and he was desperately trying to get away from the children's entertainment thing. So it's very intentional, that title, Sex and Violence.
What were the coffee ads that he did even back in the day when he was doing advertising with the puppets, and there's just all this violence and puppet violence,
which we've always had with cartoons, of course, even to this day.
But I mean, he was a zany, weird beatnik into hippie. Really abstract thinker and
I
artist.
don't want to be incorrect with this, or maybe someone will correct me, but I mean, I believe the reason he died is that because he was a hippie, he got pneumonia and he refused to take medication.
It was too late by the time
Right,
they
yes.
figured it
I
all
could be
out.
wrong on that, but that's what I'd heard. That
Yeah.
he just liked everything natural. He was very into natural remedies. And
But look at this. I'm just looking this way, and like, if you back up all the way, Tyler, take that all in. That is backstage from the Muppet Show, and it is perfect. Like, I was down here looking at this, refreshing my memory. I mean, I would know it anywhere, but I'm looking at this, and you've got everything.
Light switch, yeah.
Well, you said earlier, you're like, well, I am a set designer.
I am a set designer.
Yeah, it's like, well, okay, if anyone could do it. But I don't know how you got the right fire bell and the right
there was
little lights.
a lot of research. So these lamps, these sort of gas lamps, I guess they are. I knew I had to recreate those exactly, and you can find them. Most places have them like lamps plus, but not that size. They're much bigger.
Yeah, because you need it to scale.
And these are,
Because
like, if I put my hand next to that, I mean, it's really tiny.
yeah.
So
it's hard to see, but actually, maybe if we back up all the way up against this wall, Tyler, you can kind of see it's built to scale. Like, it's all built to scale
well,
over
especially
here.
if I run upstairs, then you'll really see.
Yeah, look at this.
So obviously I couldn't walk through that door. Well, I guess I could, but so I found these on eBay, which, a bit of hunting, but I found them, and actually in Paris. And you might think, oh, Paris, they must have been a fortune. They were like, I don't know, $20 each or something. This lady in Paris was selling them.
It's the details. That's incredibly, like, dedication right there to get the details down.
And this thermometer thing here, this is on the real Muppet fans will recognize this. It was on the original set, and I found that, funnily enough, in Boulder City.
Really?
Here,
in one of the antique
close to
stores?
Vegas, yeah.
Oh my gosh!
And
I
it's
love
the
those
exact
antique stores.
one. I mean, it was incredible that I found it.
So how long did this take to build? Because we walked in here, I was thinking you must have lived here for 20 years, and this must have been a long.
Well, that's in a way, the weird part that I'm taking this down tomorrow, or remodeling it, I should say. Is this really has only been in existence since, I think it was April, or maybe May.
Of this year?
Yeah, this year. So June, July, August, basically 5 months. But this really explains my personality, and I've always been like this. I'm very sort of goal-orientated and driven,
right.
thank goodness. But I'm also one of those people that once I've hit that goal, well, what am I going to do? Keep this here for 20 years? If I had other rooms in the house and I could just keep this here for 20 years, maybe I would. But I'm just like, I did it. It was a dream. I did it. Lots of people have seen it. Thank goodness you're documenting it. And so why not have a new goal and, a new dream, I guess.
I want to just start screaming and be like, it belongs in a museum. We have to save it.
Yeah.
But what the crazy thing about you is, I just realized, is you're also probably thinking, well, if I needed to rebuild it, I could.
Yeah,
because you're a
exactly.
set designer.
Yeah.
I mean, this is fantastic. The stairs, the paint color. I love the aging, by the way, on the paint.
Yeah, I did that myself. So I should say, I'm a set designer, but I don't build. A lot of people think that I build. I can't build. I can't nail two pieces of wood together. So I did all the designs, the drawings, the CAD, all that stuff. And then a guy, also funnily enough, in Boulder City, who's a retired set builder, and came out of retirement to do this for me. Really, I paid him, but basically as a favor. And I wanted him to do it because he's very detail obsessed, which is important on something like this.
This is so cool.
So yeah, we went to town on the details. And then you asked how long it took. Gosh, I'm trying to think. Maybe like 3 or 4 months. I mean, it could be built in a couple of days because it's
fantastic.
Small. But he's semi-retired. This guy's called Robbie. So Robbie just did a little bit and then left it for a couple of weeks, then did a bit more. And he started building this before I bought this house. I didn't even know the size of the room, which is a little crazy. And originally the walls were a little lower, but this is a 12-foot ceiling, thank goodness, because it needs it really.
It's perfect.
With the lighting.
I mean, we saw pictures of this before we came, just a picture. And I couldn't tell how big it was. It looked like a full-size set. So you've done an incredible job. It's like Disneyland or something. Okay, and that's the set. Okay. And then behind us now is like, ta-da, is it. So this is the largest collection.
Yes, and I mean, you never know when you make a statement like that. You never know for sure, but I've put it out there enough that nobody has disputed me. I know there's a few people have 5 or 6. You mentioned you knew someone who had the whole Electric Mayhem band.
Well, they were trying to get it made, yeah.
Oh, right, trying. But I know people have got 4 or 5, 5 or 6, but I have, I think, 33, something like that.
So this isn't even all of them?
No, well, Sweetums lives in the garage.
Okay. I was going to pull a gotcha and be like, well, you don't have Sweetums over here.
And we have someone hiding behind here that we'll see in a minute. But yeah, it's crazy. I mean, this took 22 years.
So this started long before the room here started.
Oh, yeah. And for the longest time, because I just didn't have room, they were in cases in a storage unit. And then I moved them into a second bedroom in an apartment I lived in. So I couldn't get them out and play with them very often, which, to be honest, is probably why they're in excellent condition.
Which one was the first one?
Well, it was a Kermit, but I think it's the Kermit that's behind here. Actually.
Okay.
Damn, I just gave away the Kermit.
But you had to start with Kermit, of course.
And Rizzo is the latest. He is 4 or 5 months old.
So what's your favorite Muppet then, if we could ask that? I mean, got to ask the guy.
It's so difficult, but I mean, I love Pepe as the character. Maybe not my favorite puppet.
Right.
I guess we should.
And Pepe is like, he came in the 90s. He was the ABC show.
Yes, and Muppets Tonight. That's right. I should say Tonight. I'm a pretty good puppeteer, but I'm not good at voices.
That's okay. Hey, Pepe. Anyone can do Pepe.
So.
Oh my gosh!
Hello. He's what does he say? Okay. Hello. Okay. Nice place. Okay. Oh. So yeah, he's not my favorite puppet.
I just want to hug him. It's me and Pepe. This is like the coolest thing.
But he's not my favorite. Oh.
Oh.
A malfunction. He's not my favorite puppet because he's weird. He's like a ventriloquist. There's triggers in here that do this.
And his little head.
But he's probably my favorite character because he's so
He is really funny.
Naughty. He's funny. Do you want to have a go?
Pepe? I don't know. Let's see.
So there's a thing in there that you hold.
You hold this.
Find the triggers.
You'll have to hold that for me. And then, I don't know. My hands are large. I don't know if I could be Pepe.
Can you feel triggers in there? There's 2. There you go. That's the mouth.
Oh my gosh. There's the mouth.
And then there's another one to lift his head. There you go.
Hey, okay. I can't believe I'm on the show. All right. I've never done a trigger puppet.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's difficult, and it's so small.
Not the way I practiced with my Kermit as a kid,
Right. And some of the other ones. So Bill Barretta, who I haven't mentioned yet, but also I've worked with several times.
I'm gonna hand it back to you because I'm scared I'm gonna break him. You can tell he's complicated inside, like a little bit more complicated.
Very much like a ventriloquist to me. But Bill Barretta, who performs him, also does Dr. Teeth, which is a big puppet.
Yeah.
So you can imagine, certainly on the live show at the Hollywood Bowl, to be doing Dr. Teeth and then put that down and grab this. There's very small movements, very subtle.
Yeah.
So that's Pepe.
Especially at a big live audience like this. So you start with Kermit, and then who's next?
Put that rod over there. Gosh, I'm trying to. I mean, this is 22 years ago.
I mean, there's so many. I mean, you got there's Muppets here. I wasn't expecting.
Chicken is very new.
You've got Camilla.
She's only about 6 months.
You've got Sam the Eagle, which is so insane. Then above him, of course, you've got Sesame Street News Kermit, because of course you have to. There's Animal, Bunsen and Beaker. Crazy Harry is in here over there
Yeah.
on the left. Miss Piggy, Rolf, Swedish Chef. I mean, these were like my friends growing up.
Yeah.
I mean,
me
I
too.
think the first VHS my parents ever bought us when we finally got a VCR was an animated sort of Muppet Babies
Oh
weird
yeah,
thing.
I didn't like that. I love Muppet Babies puppets.
Right.
I never liked the animation.
But the first show that we got, the first movie that we ever had on VHS was the Muppet movie.
oh yeah,
The
which
classic Muppet movie, Rainbow
still
Connection.
my favorite,
It's
yeah.
the greatest road trip movie ever made. Up there with Pee-wee's Big Adventures, pretty close, but the Muppet movie is. And this was my favorite character.
So again, I can't do the voice.
Gonzo, the weirdo. I can't even do Gonzo's voice, and I've been trying for
it's
years.
changed a lot over
Yeah.
the years.
Because it's still Dave Goles, I think, right?
Yes, no one else has ever performed Gonzo, just Dave.
I'm going to Bombay, India to become a movie star. You don't have to go to Bombay, India. Why don't you do what we're doing? Go to Hollywood. Sure, if you want to do it the easy way.
Wow, you actually can do the voice.
Gonzo's song in the Muppet movie when he does I'm going to go back there
Oh,
someday.
yeah, I can lip sync.
I want that played at my funeral. Like literally, I told Allie, if I die, that's the song I want at my funeral. That is the ultimate. There's something about Gonzo being a weird. All the Muppets really. This is
Weird,
something that connects it to you. Is look at this madcap, weird, strange gang of misfits and the way they've found their place in the universe. And it's the Kermit line in the Muppet movie, right? Millions of people happy. I can't process this because this has been my dream my whole life to meet the Muppets and see the Muppets.
Really?
Especially Miss Piggy.
I can do sounds. I can't do a lot of the voices, but I can do the sounds.
Miss Piggy's so beautiful. Oh, thank you, Miss Piggy. Oh. This is the coolest thing ever. Like, oh. Like, all I want to do is play with the puppets, and we had to control ourselves the whole time we've been in your house.
Maybe we should actually do that.
Well, actually, you were just mentioned something a minute ago, which is funny. Like you were keeping your sort of Muppet obsession, a little secret from the Muppet people and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then you're building the room and stuff. And we just found out a few minutes ago from your lovely wife that she did the first date. She wasn't sure there was going to be a second date, and then you offered to show her your Muppet collection. Yes. And that is what showed her your.
It. That's the smooth operator I was. It's like, hey, you want to see my Muppet collection? And amazingly, it worked. I mean,
and I was telling her, I was like, you would think that'd be the thing that you. Hold it
keep
back.
Like
Don't
quiet.
tell her about the Muppet collection.
That's like maybe 6 months in.
Yeah, but it turns out that was the thing that got you the third date and the fourth date.
Well, just I guess because it's quirky.
But isn't that weird? I mean, this led you into your career in a way. It led you.
It brought me my wife. And while we're talking about that, this is actually how I proposed to Amy.
Okay, this is awesome. That's where I was going with this.
Oh, you were. So yeah, when I proposed to Amy, who's now my wife, I had this box made on Etsy, and you open it up. And it used to light up, and you see the slot there is where the ring was, and then that's me and Amy amongst the rest of the guys there. She knew what she was getting into.
How cool is that?
It reminds me of Pretty Woman. Remember the ring box?
And so how long were you guys together before getting here and this happening?
No, she's downstairs, and she would kill me for not knowing. But
Don't listen.
We just celebrate, or we're about to actually next week celebrate our 6th wedding anniversary. So
congratulations.
Thank you. Maybe 3 years. So probably 8. We're 8 years deep now. We're 8 years in.
And it took 8 years to get the Muppet Room.
Yes.
But there was a trade-off downstairs because she has got the coolest.
It's a British tea room. So my wife's American, and so you would think that a British tea room is something I would want.
Right.
And I'm very proud that I'm British, but she loves all things British, which again probably is why she married me. Hopefully it's just my good looks and all the rest of it.
Of
but
course.
I think it was just that he's British and he likes the Muppets. He'll do. But yeah, so the trade-off was she wanted.
He's British and he likes the Muppets. He'll do. I just want to underline that.
I don't get you any girl. But so the trade-off when we bought this house, which was only 11 months ago, so we're very new into this house, as she knew I wanted to build this. So she was like, well, okay, can I have a room? So I'm thinking, well, what? And she said, I'd love a tea room, a British tea room. So, so
and it's the craziest British tea room I've ever seen.
Yes.
It looks like I was going to say something from a movie, but we're dealing with...
But I mean, at least that's practical. It does get used.
It's
I mean,
awesome.
we don't go and sit
And that's
in
how
there.
I found out you met the Queen, because there's pictures of the Queen, and turns out somebody's met the Queen.
Yeah, I met the Queen a few times, 3 times actually.
Was she nice? Did she like the Muppets?
Yeah, well, actually, the Muppets did a Royal Variety Show, which is this sort of annual thing that the Queen, obviously she's passed away now, but the Queen used to go to that. So the Muppets, I think, did 2 or maybe even 3 Royal varieties.
So if they were invited back.
They were endorsed by the Queen.
The Queen liked the Muppets. She rattled her jewelry for the Muppets.
And particularly because it was a British, I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but the Muppet Show was shot in London.
They couldn't get it made in the U.S. And what's the name of the... Oh, no.
The network? No.
The guy who, Lord...
Lou Grade.
Lou Grade.
Lou Grade,
who was the one who had invested in Jim Henson's crazy things. Said, you're going to have to bring it all over to London. Why not?
He tried all the networks here. They all said, oh, this is a kid's show. We don't want this on prime time.
Which is funny because a Muppet movie is made in and around L.A., and I found some of the places where they filmed. It's hard to find others because the movie ranches have all changed.
Right.
And it's like they had to come here to make that. And then the second movie, the Muppets go to England. Gee, I wonder why. When you find out, well, that's where their home base was.
And Labyrinth and Dark Crystal, a lot of it was done storytelling.
The Creature Shop was there.
Yeah. I think it's because the British sense of humour, even today, is very weird, very wacky. Monty Python and it was. We're used to it now, but this sense of humour that the Muppets bring is very wacky.
I think this is missing.
British.
I think this is what's missing now.
Yeah.
And I always try and say with Randomland, I go, it's a family-friendly show, but I've always tried to have the Muppet humor because there's a lot of adult humor in the Muppets.
Oh yeah.
It's just designed to go over the heads it's supposed to go over, and I love the Muppets. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, people think of it as a kiddie show. Go back and watch the Muppet Show. Some of it's a little dated because it was a variety show. So some of the celebrities people won't know as much, and some of the gags maybe. But it's definitely not a kids only show.
No, not at all.
That's so fantastic.
So do you want to play?
Okay, so here's what I'm doing. I'm about to go upstairs on the mezzanine, just like all the celebrity guests used to be backstage at the Muppet Show. This is the dressing room that they used to come out of course, full scale. And this is how they would stand next to Kermit. This is incredible. It's Kermit the Frog. Look at this. Look at this, everybody. I mean, this is tripping me out. I can't even look at Andy down there. Spoiler alert, Andy's down there. Because all I see is Kermit.
That's right.
And I can remember people talking about this, about Sesame Street, kids going on Sesame Street or people going on the Muppet Show, and they wouldn't talk to the puppeteers. They would just talk to Kermit. Because look at him. It's Kermit the Frog. This is like my best friend growing up. I didn't have normal human friends. I had puppet friends. How accurate are these replicas?
Most of them are really dead on. I mean, I'm really picky.
Yeah.
So your average person...
I can see you're a little bit...
Your average person thinks they're all dead on, but some of them are not perfect.
Well, like this. Come here, Tyler, and look at this really quick. Look at Gonzo's nose right there. When you watch the movies, you don't realize that it's made out of this texture. And I'm sure I'm going to go back and see that it is now. Yeah. But like this foam and all this stuff. Yeah, it's very, very simple. And yet, when there's a hand in there, Dave Goelz has got his hand up inside of Gonzo. He really comes to life.
And Kermit really, arguably, is the most simple of all of them. Because he's really just a sleeve. Yeah, exactly.
There's just like a foam thing to go under your hand in there like this. And then all the expression comes from your hand. I was used to, my Kermit puppet that I've used to my whole life had a padded head. So it was the opposite. Instead of your hand being up in the head, your hand would be down flat. And so I would need a little practice. I need to get my hands on one of these Kermit the Frog replicas. I'm on the Muppet Show. Ah! Yay! Okay, then the coolest thing ever happened, you guys. Andy started letting me play with not just one Muppet, not just two Muppet, but with all of the Muppets over here. And this is a lot of fun.
Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here. Today, we're hanging out in the Muppet Room with my best friend, Andy, who's taking good care of me. And here we are with all my friends. Today, we're on Randomland on location. And that's why this weird hat is here, keeps popping up.
Hey, Kermit! I love that you not only created a giant collection of replica Muppets, like the most beloved characters of my childhood, but you've created a little studio in which you can play, with the Muppets, and you have the monitor.
Hey, where's the cheese around here?
And it's a workout. I mean, we're both out of breath because, I don't know, you wouldn't think it would be.
No, you're sticking your arms up over your head. You're trying to spread them out.
Imagine when they're shooting a movie and they're going, they arrive on set at 7 a.m. and they go till 5 or 6 in the evening or something.
Wow! You guys are really great. I love Randomland. Oh, where's Camilla?
It's crazy.
And your arm is in the air
all day. And they're heavy.
And they're all your friends and colleagues, but you're real close to them all day.
Your heads are in each other's armpits.
Yeah.
You're doing the two-handed puppets.
And imagine you're on the 12th take and the director says, oh, we just need to do one more take. You're like, oh, my arm is
going to fall off. Man, each one feels so different. It's no wonder it's kind of makes it easier to perform them with a different personality because every single one is created
and they
differently.
probably have a muscle memory, the performers, so when they put their hand in, because it really does feel very different inside each one.
I never would have thought of that. And you and I have been doing terrible Muppet voices this whole time,
Yes.
but it's like, it's too fun not to do it.
Like, for sure, like, whatever. Cool.
I'm going to Bombay, India to become a movie star.
Totally, like, yeah. Oh, yeah. Play the sax. Yeah.
Not all of the puppets are so simple, however. Look at Fozzie Bear here. Ah, waka waka. Fozzie Bear needs two people because as you can see here, my arm is inside of Fozzie's left arm. Andy is operating the right arm.
Waka waka. Hey, drinks on the house. Drinks on the house. Bartender says drinks on the house.
Hey, when does this show start? I don't know, but it sucks. Yeah, this is garbage. Boo. Boo. Terrible. Boo. Awful. Boo. Bring out the girls. Yeah. Yeah. Get rid of the guy with the R hat.
What?
Get out of here.
Oh.
Who was that? I don't know, but I hope he doesn't come back.
Should we do a little mana?
Oh, we've got to do a little mana. Mana is like my favorite thing. I had one of those cassette tapes when I was a kid. It just had the mana.
And that we can do. I think we can do the voices for that.
Yes. Okay, well, this has been the most fun thing ever. We've gotten to play with all of the Muppets, which has been like a lifelong dream of mine. Because I'm not kidding, when I was a kid, I had this Kermit the Frog puppet. I would take it everywhere with me, all the family vacations. We had a Ford Aerostar. I would stick Kermit out of the window, and I would ask people if they had any Grey Poupon and all these different things. I carried that thing around with me until I was about 15 years old. I mean, like way into it. I'd bring him to band practice sometimes. He lasted a lot longer than he should have lasted, and I still have the Kermit the Frog puppet at home. So I feel like you're a kindred spirit, Andy, and I feel like this is the coolest thing. I want to thank you so much for letting us come here and play with the Muppets. But this is the sad part because today is the very last day the Muppet Room is going to exist.
Yeah, literally tomorrow I start remodeling this whole thing, taking a lot of the memorabilia stuff away.
I mean, you're not throwing away the Muppets. They won't be
they're
homeless.
staying.
But what is going to happen in here? You got to make us feel a little bit better about this.
So I'm a big YouTube fan, which is how I know you and lots of other people that you're friends with that I watch as well.
I don't have any friends.
And I always like,
Except you, Andy.
I should get onto this YouTube bandwagon, but I don't want to be on camera. I'm not like super shy, but I've got no interest in being on camera. So one day I was thinking, oh, maybe I should start a YouTube channel. As a set designer, I was thinking maybe I can like teach set design or something. And then I was up here late one night. This was all unlit, very dark, very creepy, by the way, when it's dark. And I thought, well, hold on. I have this studio here. Why don't I do I can't use any of these, obviously.
Sure.
But why don't I do a puppet YouTube channel? There's very few people doing it. So anyway, I it took a few weeks to think of the idea. But
a few people doing it well.
That's true. But very few people generally anyway. Because it's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, puppets have sort of gone by the wayside. We've got 3D animation and all this stuff.
Exactly,
It's
with AI
becoming
now,
a lost art.
I think we're going to get a lot of animation on YouTube because of AI.
Yeah.
You can't AI puppets.
Right.
They're very tangible.
Something great about that.
So I came up with this character. I mean, this was over weeks and weeks, actually. But I came up with a character called Artie. A-R-T-I-E. And this will be the first time my wife's seen him. I've seen him, obviously, and the guy who built him for me has seen him. But no one else has seen this character, so this is literally a first. So
We're seeing a new puppet.
I feel like we should be doing a drum roll or something.
Wow. We'll insert that drum roll there. We'll get Jared to edit in a drum roll.
So, he's stuck here. It's not a good start, Artie. This is your... There we go. So, here he is. Now, I don't have a voice for him yet, But Artie's a little boy, and the videos are going to be him teaching children how to draw and paint. So you'll see him doing the drawings, and then you'll see a top shot of him making a butterfly or a birthday cake or a train. Very, for young children, 5 to 8 year olds. And nobody's doing this. Nobody's done it before, to my knowledge. Certainly nobody's doing it now.
I'm like spellbound a little bit by Artie. He blinked, and ever since then I haven't stopped looking at him. Artie is so cool. High five, Artie. I'm the first person to ever get an Artie high five.
So yeah, I'm going to be working on this in the next few months. Like I say, I don't have his voice yet, and just working on all the details. And then I'm going to be uploading a video a day. On YouTube, it'll be Artie's Show.
And that'll be sometime 2024.
Yeah, hopefully January, if not February.
Wow.
There's still a lot to do.
So we are witnessing the birth of a new puppet creation.
Brand new.
And this is really crazy. Keep Artie with you, because come over here really quick. We started this journey in here by you telling us how you grew up in a showbiz family, which makes sense that you're going to now get into a little showbiz yourself, into performing arts, and how the Muppets influenced you throughout your whole career, and here you are, come full circle.
And I've never been a performer, I'm very much a behind-the-scenes guy, so this is going to be a whole new experience for me.
But this was the original dream, and look at you, and right behind you, you've got Jim Henson there with Kermit. And then that's incredible. I mean, I always wanted to make movies when I was a kid. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make movies and things, and I wanted to do puppets and all this kind of stuff. And somewhere along the way, that fell away. I got in a band, and I was in a band for years and years and years. And then somehow, some weird way, I ended up making YouTube videos.
Right, full circle.
And now there's crazy characters, and we have Julio and Randy the Random Land Rat. And it's weird how life sometimes, if you don't get what you want in your 20s, and you go, I'm not doing what I thought I would do, you never know where you can end up.
It's never too late,
That's so crazy.
So we'll see how he does. There's no guarantees, as we all know, with YouTube. But hopefully, give us a couple of years. Maybe Artie will be worldwide famous, maybe.
Maybe. And then I'll be working for Artie. No, he's seen how I did the Muppets earlier. Well, thank you, Andy, and thank you, Artie, so much for letting us come in here. The Muppet Room. It was short-lived.
Yes, 4, 5, 6 months.
But you never know. Maybe one day, maybe Artie will be so successful you'll move into a bigger house. You'll rebuild the Muppet Room again. That's the magic of being a set designer. You could always design a bigger and better one.
Again, yeah. Maybe I'd do the whole Muppet Theatre.
Yeah.
Like the seats, the box, the old man.
Oh my gosh, that's the one thing you're missing. Statler and Waldorf need their own box in here.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the Muppet Room has its own Facebook
has a
group.
Facebook group just called the Muppet Room.
For Muppet fans.
Yeah, and then Artie, like I say, on YouTube will be Artie's Show.
That is incredible.
So, yeah.
Anything else? We got Instagram or anything else that we need to shout out?
You. Thanks for coming. I really appreciate it.
Watch the shows that you're working on, the real shows.
Yeah.
Nah, not worried about that.
Whatever.
Puppets.
Yes.
Keep an eye out for Artie. So it's good. What's the name of the show one more time?
Artie's Show.
Artie's Show.
Arties.
And then the Facebook group for, which we'll have down below in the description, but the Facebook group for
the Muppet Room.
The Muppet Room.
Yeah.
And that's it. Okay. Well, thank you so much. This has been the most incredible thing ever.
Thank you for coming.
And it's just too bad that we didn't get a chance to see Sweetums. I'd like to see him before I went back to California.
I think he's around here somewhere, usually.
Well, if you see him, let him know that we headed back to Hollywood.
Okay.
All right. And that's it. And now Crazy Harry is going to lead us out.
All done. Go home and sleep well.
Whoa! Where'd they go? I want to go to Hollywood! Wait for me!
Nailed it. We nailed it.
Okay, so what are these things called?
The Snoths.
The Snoths. I never knew they had a name.
Yeah, Snoth.
There's so many different versions of the songs, too. I just want to point this out, that there's a version where they go, ba-dee-bee-dee, and there's a version where they go, do-do-do-do.
Right.
There's a bunch of different versions of it. What's this guy's name?
Yeah, Manamana.
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 That's the coolest thing ever.
Manamana.
Somewhere up there, Jim Henson is smiling.
Yeah,
laughing,
right?
Mostly at my ineptitude. Dude, this day is so crazy and so fun. Look at this. Tyler's not normally the biggest puppet fan in the world, but even Tyler's getting in on the action. How's that feel, Tyler?
It feels cool. It feels like seeing a friend. Like he's, I control him.
I need a Justin puppet.
that's-
And I
You
need
just
a
want a
little-
friend you can control? Yeah.
Yes, Justin.
That's
No,
right.
it's awesome. This is so cool. I've never actually puppeteered before, and as you can tell, it's a little rusty. No, not you. Me. Puppety.
Random Land is fun. Andy Land. Oh, Jack not name. Jack Jaw. Hello.
Hey, Kermit! I can't really do Scooter. I can't do Scooter. I can try. This is so cool.
Another trick they do is often it'll look like they're talking to each other, but I might be a foot sort of downstage.
So they're cheating the
yeah.
sizes and stuff.
So it looks like we're looking at each other, but really there's a distance.
This is so cool.
And when you go upstage, you have to go down.
Oh,
And then when you come closer to the camera, you have to go up.
oh, there's the camera. There's the camera up there. Oh, this is so cool. Hey, where's the cheese around here? Gonzo! I can't do Rizzo. I can't do Rizzo. Help me. Gah! Gah! Ah! This is harder than it looks. Robin. Hey, nobody knows about Robin. This is so cool. It's so hard to stay down.
Yeah,
It's really hard.
the puppeteers have a lot of arthritis problems.
It's also really hard to do like the trigger mouths. I've never done this kind of puppet before, and it's really hard to kind of wrap my brain around it and kind of know what we're doing.
You
This
can't
is
get
so
a lot of
cool.
expression out of them, although they do, of course. Whereas this type, you can really change his
Well, that's what's
mouth
blowing my
and-
mind is how much Rizzo does have like so much expression in, say, the Muppet Christmas Carol or something like that, and he's a really hard puppet to operate. I never realized how hard. Look at Robin. Kermit's nephew, Robin.
Uncle Kermit.
See, you could do voices.
I
Come
can,
on.
I can do a couple, but usually, like when I'm in here late at night on
Hey,
my
Tyler.
own.
Let's see if there's a lot of cheese downstairs. I can't do Rizzo. I wish I could do Rizzo, but I can't do Rizzo.
Animals are tricky one as well.
Oh my gosh. Whoa, man. I could do Animal.
Woman. Funnily enough, interestingly, he doesn't do that anymore because again, sign,
can't say woman.
Sign of the times. Yeah, he was,
Woman! Woman!
these are the most sophisticated of puppets, really.
Really?
So this is carved or sculpted in clay, and then they make a mold, and then
the
they
face
cast,
shape.
They cast latex rubber, and then finally this is called flocking, which
Really?
is tiny little hairs. They put an electrical charge into the latex foam rubber, and then they paint it with glue, and then the hairs jump to the electric charge.
So Statler and Waldorf are actually sculpted and made out of latex
Yeah,
under there?
very-
I just always thought somehow they got the felt.
the most expensive type, and so is Piggy. There's a few.
I never would have known that.
Done this style, and you grab. Oh, actually, you do this guy.
Okay, okay. This is so cool. You can't get rid of this room. How am I going to visit you in Vegas
And then
now?
feel this guy inside. He's one of the nicest feeling.
Oh.
I'll put him back. Oh yeah, the mic.
Wait,
Sorry, I love.
what did you just say?
No, well, yeah, it does sound weird, but you'll see what I mean. He's got the nicest feel inside the head.
And he just told you got to feel inside of this guy. He feels really good.
He does though. He's very soft. You'll see what I mean.
You hold that. Let's see. Oh, it feels so wrong and disrespectful to. Oh.
See?
Oh, he is very spongy
Very
inside,
comfortable, yeah.
but very hard. It's hard to spread his mouth open.
Yeah.
As much as the other puppets. Yeah, so each one is like super different, super strange. Oh, we're Marley and Marley. Oh, this is so cool. Oh yeah, play the sax. Yeah. I don't know what we're doing, but I'm having so much fun. Think for sure things are really gonna change when we get our new glossies. It's really hard.
Yeah. Tiny.
Yeah, you gotta get Gonzo. And I think I put my hand in at a funny angle too. It's very hard to get Camilla.
Yeah, you just get like your 2 fingers and your thumb in the beak.
I don't think I can get my
If you
arm.
get up there.
Oh, I guess I can.
You might have big hands.
Yeah, she's. I want to separate her head from her body. Oh, geez. This is a lot harder than dealing with Julio.
Oh, that's-
Yeah, we need Gonzo. This is the funniest, coolest thing
And some of
ever.
those scenes, they've got like 20 chickens.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
We're
Must
stepping all over
happen
each other.
a lot, I'm sure.
Oh my gosh.
Jack that name. Oh, Jack Job. Oh,